Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Oladantes. I've got the amazing Chang with us today. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ola. Thanks for inviting me to the show. I'm very excited.
Yeah, awesome. We were just talking just before the show. Yeah, you've got a lot going on. You've got some really, really interesting things going on. So, but I think we want to kind of go back a little bit. Yeah. Just tell us a bit more about yourself and how you got into the real estate investing game and kind of what you're up to lately.
So how I got started in real estate.
Yep.
So when I first started, when in college, I had no idea that I was going to be in real estate. When I was at UCLA, I knew I wanted to be an engineer because I was good at math and science and all that. So that's like the natural path. And I was kind of very interested in buildings. So I chose civil engineering as my major. Then kind of toward the end, I started to realize as a civil engineer, you would never truly create a product because who ultimately drive the design and the product is the developer, the real estate investor, and not the designer. Designer is always working for the owner. So that's why I pivoted and I moved from civil engineer. I first started in construction management for 2 years, working for Panko, all on two big projects. The first one was R3 Metropolis. It was a 60-story tower residential, supposedly the tallest concrete residential project west of Mississippi or something fancy like that. But it was an amazing project. I was there for a year and a half. And I started working on a hotel in West Hollywood. And after that, I decided to make the move to start working for a developer. So now working for CIM Group. It has been almost 2 years. And we do a lot of projects in LA. We also have projects throughout the US, but we mainly operate in LA. So that's kind of a brief story of how I got into real estate. And I'm excited to, do more apartment syndication on the side, have a little taste of driving my own project and my own design.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in there. First and foremost, we have to touch on this. There's a lot of people, some of whom actually live in California, maybe not in the LA area, but a lot of people are saying there are no deals in California. We cannot find deals, so they're kind of, taking that capital out of California and maybe deploying in somewhere like, Texas, states we invested in Yara Dwelling, or maybe somewhere else in the US, maybe Florida, whatever. But of course, you guys are, with your company now, you guys are getting deals. I saw, one of your recent development looks amazing. What would you say to that person saying, hey, we can never find good deals, here in California or maybe even in LA? What would you say to that person?
There's definitely some truth in it, just because how how expensive the construction cost is right now. Not a lot of deals pencil out, and I look at a lot of deals. The way CIM Group operates typically for development is we'll buy like a Class C area, and then we'll buy 50, 60 lots of land, and we'll completely redevelop and re, re rejuvenate the neighborhood. So that way you can buy lot at a much cheaper price. However, the construction cost is still very high. It doesn't matter where you are in LA, especially in NorCal. It's a lot more expensive. But having said that, there's always a lot harder. You got to dig a lot deeper. But I would say never compromise that and get yourself into a deal that you're not gonna cash flow, and you end up. It's worse not having a deal. It's better than getting yourself into a really bad deal.
Yeah, I totally, yeah, agree. I totally agree on that. So you guys kind of also do some apartment syndications like we do, yeah, dwelling. So maybe just kind of talk us through one of the deals that you guys have done, or what what are the challenges you guys are facing in this space? Obviously, as all of us discuss as syndicators, is cap rates are really just compressing, and it's harder to get deals that, like you mentioned, like actually pencils out. So what are kind of some of the challenges that you guys are seeing, at your firm, or maybe just just generally anywhere across the country in terms of apartments and apartment syndication, or maybe even on the development side?
Yeah, for CIM group, they don't really do syndications. They partner with different funds. We have our own funds, so we don't do syndications. Not a 506B. It's all only accredited investors. So they operate a little differently. But to your point, what kind of challenges we're having right now in the U.S. Not only the construction costs a lot more expensive, but a lot of the trades that you are buying out, because the trades, and when I say trade, it means like a concrete subcontractor, a glazing subcontractor, so different trades that go into the building. And those trades are all very, very busy right now. Doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are, because there's so many construction going on. The interest rate is so low. Everyone's still building, and the Fed might even lower interest rate for, I don't know, second or third time this year. I think the second time, right? By end of the year. So the interest rate is low. There's still a lot of construction going on. So those subs are constantly getting requests to bet on different projects, even though they're not doing a good job. And they don't have to do a good job because they know that someone's gonna want them. So when you buy out contracts, you start noticing the quality of your work starts going down. And it might have something to do with millennials too. Like millennials are not really open to working in construction site. So you can see the demand for construction work is super high. But meanwhile, the supply is older and older people reaching retirement, and then the young millennials are not really getting the trade work. Even though, to be honest with you, I think the average college student probably makes a lot more doing construction than going to 4-year college and then doing something maybe even completely irrelevant to what he studied. So you start seeing the quality of the work going down. You will be calling the contractor. He wouldn't really respond to you. He didn't really care that your project is getting delayed. And then literally, a lot of my projects, I had to send out delay notice to make sure I'm on the top priority list. Because unless you do that and put a subcontractor on notice, then the contractor just thinks that, hey, he's not gonna back charge me or hold me reliable for any of those damages. Then I can just ignore him. So you had to constantly calling and emailing, and yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. Yeah, I mean, for some of the projects we did here, we kind of had to, like, we'll say, hey, if you're not done by, so date, as you said in your contract, then we start to charge you, and like you said, back charge you. So that way, that usually gets their attention anyway. So that's kind of how we handle that.
Yeah, so you want to be careful. You want to make sure that in your contract language that you sign, you have a template says the subcontractor has to respond within 2 days upon the owner or general contractor's request. So after 2 days, if you still don't see a significant progress on that work or on the scope you want to accomplish, then you can get another contractor out to do his work and then back charge him for his scope that he hasn't been performing. But you need to give that 2-day notice. So, and you gotta be very careful on taking photos and documenting things kind of stuff, because if you get in a legal lawsuit, attorneys and the attorney is gonna want to look at all those documents. So make sure you have photos and emails daily to document the work progress. Start counting how many workers on the job site and taking photos of them actually doing the work.
Wow, that's interesting. And like, you guys did a multi-million dollar project. So I can only imagine, keeping all those, records and just making sure that you're keeping the contractors and, you putting some fire under their feet. So why don't we jump into that deal before I kind of want to talk on, co-living and co-working we were discussing before the show. So before we go to that, why don't you tell us about your deal, the one that you guys just finished? Beautiful property, by the way. So why don't you, tell us a little bit more about that deal, and just give us a full spiel on that deal, on that project.
Yeah, it was a mixed-use project in West Hollywood, on La Brea and near Santa Monica. It's 169 units. It took us about 2.5 years from ground up, and it has 169 units of apartments. On the ground floor is about 35,000 square feet of retail space. And so far we have leased out about 25 apartments and also half the retail space. So we're hoping to get stabilized, in another 2 quarters or so. And that project was, I would say, challenging because I had never done a wood frame project before that. Before it was all concrete, so it was a little different. Definitely a little different for me. And the scheduling, like I said, this is my first non-union job, and when you work for a non-union job, the traits are a lot less quality you feel compared to a union job. So, like I said, that's all the issues range to with contractors, putting them on notice and whatnot. But yeah, it was an exciting job. We just finished, and I'm moving on to another project down about 5-6 miles south, and there are apartments and hotels. So we had 2 projects starting in the next few weeks.
Wow! Congratulations on that project. I really liked that one. Keep me updated on the next one as well. So co-living, co-working, millennials are, I guess, kind of blazing this trail of, kind of a community or communal living. So I just kind of wanted to get your own thoughts on this concept and how technology actually drives this new, this new space. I think I was watching Bloomberg and I saw like WeWork is about to, IPO, and there's a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh my goodness. So this is like, I mean, they've taken over the co-working space anyway for the most part. So I just kind of wanted to get your own thoughts on that space.
So the reason I'm so interested in co-living is that I feel like as the world becomes increasingly digitalized, I feel like the way we interact with each other has been more distant because we're not really face to face interacting with each other. And the idea of co-working and co-living is that even though you're doing your own side gig, as opposed to working from home, you work in an office, that makes you more productive. But also you're still meeting a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. So it's co-living. You could be coming back home from work, and maybe you want to talk to somebody, that your neighbor or your friends. And to me, that's a really appealing feeling. Maybe because I'm an extrovert, but I feel like overall that idea, a concept of co-working, co-living really increase our mental health. Now, it also is a more affordable lifestyle because you're not paying for a whole apartment, the whole amenities like the kitchen, the appliance, all by yourself. You have people in a unit that's sharing that amenity with you. So if you're living in an expensive area like San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York, actually New York, I believe had the first co-living project, if I'm not wrong. And then San Francisco is a lot of those popping up, and Ali and Ali has a lot of projects. They're starting one in downtown LA, so I'm excited to check that one out when it opens in 2020. So it's definitely a trend that you're starting to see in metropolitan areas that are less affordable. And yeah, and I think it's affordable way for people to live, and it's appealing way because people can stay connected with others, so it's good for your mental health. So I'm excited about this concept, and that's actually one of the project types I will want to focus on in the future.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a fascinating concept. We're definitely working on some, like we discussed before the show. Yeah, are dwelling with our partners in the UK. So it's very interesting. We try to stay in our lanes, but this communal kind of way of living is really kind of intrinsic to us as human beings anyway. That's kind of how we started. We're social animals, so it kind of makes sense, when you tie
Yeah.
it back. And I think you make a really good point of it really does help our mental health, as opposed to, living in our own little boxes and not really interacting, or living in our own little cubicle and not interacting with others, kind of an open space. So that makes absolute sense. Um, I
You
could talk
know,
to you. Yeah, sorry, go on.
um, yeah. So you're just talking about how it's like a new way. You're trying to stay in your lane, but it's like a new way of a new different project, right? So you're kind of getting out of your comfort zone. And one thing I noticed in the construction world, the real estate world, is I don't know, people in the industry are just older, but they're super. I don't want to say narrow-minded, but they're accustomed to what has always the traditional way of doing things. Like you see like an old construction worker, you telling him like, hey, like why don't we do this and that? And it's like, dude, you just came out of college. I've been doing this for like 30, 40 years. And you're trying and telling me what to do. And then it's like, hey man, it's just suggestion. We're just brainstorming ideas together. But I just hate it when people say, hey, this is the way it has been, the way we have been doing for 30 years, and there's no other way else to do it. And now you're seeing all the millennials kind of getting jump industry, and there's a lot of changes going on. So I'm excited to see how real estate evolve for the next 5, 10 years. Just with the technology and the internet of things, everything being connected together. Yeah, I could see some amazing, interesting ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely dwelling into the quick rounds here. These are going to be quick questions, quick answer. You ready, sir?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First question. What makes you, Jay, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
And I think it's gotta be learning, the eagerness to learn. Like since I was little, when my parents tell me stuff, I will always just pick it up and listen to if it's good advice. Bad advice, sometimes I still follow my parents when I was little, but you kind of learn which one's good and which one's bad. Because I think it's so important because people say like when do human or us like stop changing? At what age do we stop evolving? It is 16 or 18 or 21. At that point, the rate of you changing just kind of either slows down or completely comes to a stop, right? But if you have that eagerness to learn and become better, that doesn't have to change. I mean, I understand it will plateau, but if you keep doing that, it can keep going up. It doesn't have to stop. So
Yeah, I
at
like
least
that.
that's what I believe. I think everyone should try to be better.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
The last book I read, it's how to a negotiation book. But I started reading that book because I read the book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and it's probably by far, well, I wouldn't say by far, definitely one of my favorite books. And I'm a big fan of Chris after reading that, and it just has a lot of amazing concepts about how he was a professional kidnap negotiator, and now he turned that strategy into into a business standing, and he's still able to negotiate with other businessmen. It doesn't matter what industry, what background, and all that strategy still applies.
Great book. That's one of a favorite. Yeah, the Dwelling Show. Last question. You're building 160 unit apartments. You're doing a ton of stuff. I mean, you're getting all these deals somehow. In Los Angeles, you're doing a ton of stuff. You've got the meetup, which we're going to talk about here in a second as well. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I well, last weekend I was just with my friends. We're golfing, and yeah, it's something I picked up recently because I was used to play a lot of basketball in college, and I hurt my back. And I hurt my shoulder weightlifting. So I was like, oh man, I need to find a sport. Maybe I can keep playing till I'm 60. Like I'm 26 now, and I'm getting hurt here and there, left and right. And then actually, when I was playing golf, and my friend started his bicep started hurting, his back started hurting. I was like, oh, we can't even play golf anymore. So I don't know, but I like golfing, basketball. I'm pretty active.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody listening to us here, I've got a pretty strong listenership actually in California and LA as well. So if there's somebody maybe in that area that wants to, says, "Well, I really like this Jay guy. I want to connect with Jay," or maybe they want to know more about the meetup, Multifamily Masters. So can you kind of just talk about the meetup and then where folks can find you and connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you brought it up. Multifamilymasters.com is a group that we made. It started about a year and a half ago. It's a meetup. Go to meetup.com. You can research. I don't think that link is the website link is working right now, but if you go to Meetup, you'll find us. We have different chapters throughout the country. We started in Los Angeles, so we have about I can't remember how many, 8 or 9 locations. I host the one in downtown LA, and we actually have a meetup event this coming Wednesday on September 18th, and we will be hosting at the WeWork at the Fine Arts Building, and we'll be going over how to do market research, the 8 steps for finding the best quality market study, market area you want to invest in. I actually wrote a blog on that Bigger Pockets. If you go on, you can find it. Search my name, you'll find me on Bigger Pockets. I write for them consistently. And yeah, so there's no sales pitch. It's just investors networking with each other, provide our missions, provide value to the people who come here, and it's just a lot of positive people, man. Even if you're not in real estate, you just want to meet people who have a lot of drive and a lot of very motivated individuals, you should come to our events.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate your time. Of course, we'll put your details in the show notes as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ola. And I hope if you're in LA, stop by and then we'll have a drink or something.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.